How to make church coffee. Start by plugging in the Bunn coffee machine. It needs to warm up for 10 to 15 minutes. This is the bean grinder. This comes out to wash, to tighten it, put it in and turn it to the right. To measure the coffee, there are two measurements inside of the grinder. One is for a small amount of coffee, one is for a larger amount. So for the church coffee, we're going to want to fill the beans to that 12 cup mark. That is approximately what each of the carafes for the Mocha Master and one of the Bunns holds. So we'll want to grind beans up onto that 12 mark. Coffee beans are located just to the left of the sink, to the left of the dishwasher. And if you want to know whether there's decaf or regular, you just have to look at the label. So here this label is Flambeau River flavored and it says decaf right there. So that's how you tell the difference. Today we're going to use up the rest of our Highlander grog here. If coffee runs low, you can email me at joelle.a.bear@gmail.com or you can text me. My number is in the church directory. So here we have regular, here we have decaf. So one of the things that I do that I think is helpful is I always make the decaf in the Mocha Master and I make the caffeinated in the Bunn coffee machine, just so I can not get confused about which one goes to what. The carafes that the coffee goes into are down here. This is just right next to the door. 2 pots of coffee for each fills 1 carafe. So these are 120 ounces. Each one of those is 60 ounces. So 2 pots of coffee fills 1 of these carafes. Each carafe should have one of these. This is the spigot that it comes out of here. And you'll need a decaf, a regular, and 1 for hot water for tea. So here we're going to start with the decaf coffee while the Bunn is warming up. We're going to fill again to that 12 cup mark right there. Make sure that's plugged in. Now the cup, so there's a little lid here that latches into this little thing here. Make sure that's clipped in, and then you're just going to hold this down until there are no more whole bean parts showing. Typically about 10 to 20 seconds. So you can see that those beans are being ground up and they're turning there in the grinder. And we're just going to keep going here until we don't see any whole bean grinds circulating. So I think that's about right there. There's what it looks like. Looks like I have just a little bit of a thicker. Maybe put this in for just a couple more seconds. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna make our first pot of coffee here in the Mocha Master. So this is just a coffee pot that makes like some excellent tasting coffee. Nothing to be intimidated about here. So we're gonna take our filter, our grounds, dump them in here. Sometimes I have to give this a good tap to get the rest of the grounds out. We're gonna put it in the grounds basket here. Lid on. One thing with this coffee machine that can get a little tricky is there's this lever here, that silver circular thing, that has to be pushed in, otherwise the grounds will overflow the top here. So I don't know why that exists in the first place, but here I'll pull it out. That's going to make a huge mess. This is going to not make a huge mess, so just be mindful of having that all the way pushed in. So then you're going to we use tap water and pour that into that fill line right there. And then we use this to keep the coffee from splashing out and all over the counter. So you're going to screw that in. Then you're going to put this underneath, and there's a little white button here. This button has to be pushed all the way in and this light on in order for it to start making coffee. So the machine has to be plugged in. We taped this power button on to save on those switch flips, so you're gonna see right here. I'm just gonna kind of jam it in there. Lights on, buttons pushed in. Coffee is in the process here. So just want to make sure with this carafe that you're rinsing it out before you put more water in here, so the grounds don't clog it up. So that is making your first pot of decaf. So this is our teapot here. You're gonna have a lever here that's going to be on and off. On is when it's blue like this, and it will shut off automatically when it boils. So now we are going to make a pot of caffeinated coffee. So the bun doesn't need to be on. If it's plugged in, it's on and heating. So just make sure you give it a good 10-15 minutes being plugged in to get the element warmed up in there. So we're gonna go back here, same process. We're gonna grind some beans just with the caffeinated beans. That looks pretty good. So we're gonna put our filter in here, throw our beans in. Throw in some tap water. Just keep in mind that this bun coffee machine starts immediately after you pour water in. So there's no time and there's no sensor at all for it making coffee. So you're just gonna wanna make sure that you have a pot underneath there immediately before you pour in any water. So there we go. You can see almost before we even get the whole pot poured in, it's already making coffee. If you're worried that you haven't plugged it in too long, you can see it steam up. That just means that the coffee's hot, so you should be good to go. All right, so we have the carafes here, and on the sides there's written what goes in them: regular, decaf, hot water. We have our first pot of decaf here. And then just keep in mind it's 2 pots per carafe. So we're just going to pour that directly in. Now some people want to warm the inside up of this with hot water and some people don't. That's totally fine. It's whatever. Coffee stays hot for about 4 hours. Not that you'd want to keep it in there that long, but it stays very hot for the entire time without the hot water. But if you want that in there, that's totally fine too. So we're going to shut that for the first pot, but when the second pot goes in, you're going to put this in. So this spigot here fits underneath. You can see, there it is. You're going to shut this, and to get it to pump, you're going to pull this up, and there's this little kickstand here. You just got to make sure that's down, and then when you press down, coffee will come out.